Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Needed something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. I'm with the gang, we packing. We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Running drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She asked me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so sleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no hoes, you niggas know me. I'm about to body the beat. I keep me a hottie with me. She wanna for a fee. Give me that for free. Keep me some money on me. Smoking the gas key. You with me, sheesh. But need no cheap keep.
I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I was soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in the room. I've been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I got a gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and them, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my lawyer, don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't relate with like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low, but I'm back on the rise, it's real. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I was soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm hopping now I gotta go. I'm looking back, they not even close. I had a 4, now I need a dose. I got a wave like I'm on the coast. Same ones a doubt and I dare the show. So way that I'm ballin', they think I'm a pro. I'm getting sick by the money I gross. They saying whoa, I told them all what this is. I told them all I don't miss. Said it's my time, look at this shit on my wrist. And when they shooting this breaks, I'm going in a new gear, gotta shift. I cannot stick to the script, I cannot wait. Watch how I get it and flip. It's just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Hey, just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide.
Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go, here we go.
Everybody, welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream where I am frozen. I don't know what is going on here, guys. I am having technical difficulties today. If you guys heard the, oh man, we might have to go faceless. Give me 1 second here, guys. I think you should be able to hear me. Just give me 1 second here. Huh. Okay. All right. Well, welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. When you guys got that beautiful confused look, that is the live look at what it looks like when I try to fix the technical issues here. But yeah, I don't know. Let me see if I can fix this. Give me 1 second here, guys. That did not work. All right, guys, we might do a faceless live stream here tonight. I'm just going to go ahead. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're back. So what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, yeah, the technical difficulties being, I don't know what happened. I got like a bunch of USB disconnected sounds, and the stream deck froze. I don't know what the heck just happened. But welcome back. That's what happens when you update your PC. I was trying to be a good PC owner and update my PC today, and this is what I have to deal with. But welcome back, guys. Bitcoin getting the bounce from that 786 golden pocket retracement that we looked at last week, and we have now come in and are starting to project from our key level of resistance, our first key level of resistance, sitting at that golden pocket at about $111,209 and potentially even leading up to about $113K. Is the bottom in here, at least locally, for a bigger continuation up? Could we be on our way to $115,000 to $117,000? I'm going to talk about exactly what I want to see happen here. Hopefully I don't freeze again, but I want to talk about exactly what I want to see happen here for this continuation up, the key levels to the upside, as well as the key levels to the downside that we definitely want to hold. And I might even cover a little bit of a lower level, guys, if we do have to come down and fill the wick in full all the way down to that brutal $102,000 level. I'm going to give you guys an update on the higher time frames. If we get that bigger drop down, what is it looking like for the rest of the bull market? And I will even talk about, guys, you know I'm not a this time is different guy, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the higher time frames and the health of this cycle. And if we are going to see a continuation of this cycle past what we've typically seen for that 4-year cycle, how can we see that play out? And what are the things that we need to happen to see that all take place? So shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys. We got the Godfather in the chat. We got Nirvana in the chat. Said, I bought some more spot. We can now safely crash to zero. Shout out to Nirvana. It does feel like that sometimes. I'm not going to lie. I know that feeling. Trust me, I've experienced it plenty of times in my life. We got Perry in the chat. Said, Frankie, they changed me. They charged me a cartload of money at customs. They want to steal my money for your hat. Shout out to Perry. That is, where you at, bro? Where you at that they hat went through customs? That's crazy. Shout out to Perry. Well, thank you for getting that hat. And that kind of stinks that they charge. I guess they charge you an import tax. What the heck is going on? But shout out to Perry. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. We got Jesse, our like police and newest member of the Frankie Candles moderator team. Shout out to Jesse. Welcome in. We got Rob, the crypto snob. What is going on, brother? Welcome in. Welcome in. Happy to have you here. I think it's Rob and I think it's Rob and Jesse tonight. Unless I missed somebody in here. But yeah, shout out to the mods, guys. Show them some love in the chat if you love them as much as we do. I don't know. Drop a heart in the chat for the mods. But we're going to take a look here at the charts here, guys, and we are getting a little bit of a pop to the downside. So without further ado, I don't want to waste any more time here. I got to be really careful with this stream deck here, guys. I don't want to break anything. But without further ado, I'm actually not even going to use the stream deck. I'll just use OBS. Let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. Rob the Crypto Snob said, Frankie Candle's correct. Shout out to Rob and Jesse holding it down. Shout out to you guys. Hearts in the chat for the mods. Let's go, baby. Let's go. All right. Probably Darren will join soon. Yeah, Darren will probably be. Oh God, man! I hope we can continue this. All right, I'm leaving. I'm gonna leave the camera going here. I'm gonna hide myself for a second because I'm frozen. But we'll see if we can get this to turn back on. I'm gonna go ahead and take myself off the chart and just do. Look at this. This is actually kind of nice. Full screen charts for the Mafia here. But let's go ahead and dig into the price action here, guys. So as we look at the Bitcoin chart, because that's where the Bitcoin candles are. Obviously, we did get our drop down here to our golden pocket 786 Fibonacci retracement levels that we were looking at on the market update as well as last week on the live stream. This was that big area of support that we really wanted to hold. And if we were looking for a continuation to the upside, what was that next target to the upside, guys? It was sitting at this exact purple box. Yes, this is the same purple box that we looked at last week, talking about if we get that continuation to the upside, this is going to be the first place to look for price to go. Sitting between $111, $130, all the way up to about $113, $386. This is a pretty confluent level of resistance in my own personal opinion. We do have the value area low of the range sitting at about $111,862. You have the golden pocket, which is what we're rejecting right now. And then we also have a daily MPOC and a 786 leading up to that $113 level. But here we are getting that bounce from the golden pocket. This was obviously the level we did not want to lose. And yes, I talked about this last week. We did have the long position here in the premium Discord that we were looking for within this golden pocket 786 zone. I personally got stopped out of this for a small loss. Well, I guess small is relative. I lost about $600 on that position, but of course, our short position from the highs here with just my locked-in profits there did cover that loss plus plenty, thousands of dollars in profit. But I did get stopped out of there. Unfortunately, did kind of hurt a little bit, hurt my feelings a little bit because, it would have been a beautiful, beautiful long entry in the key zone that we were looking at. But unfortunately, my stop loss was just a couple of ticks too high here. So just full disclosure, I am not holding a long position down here, even though we were looking for that setup. But I am not FOMOing in here at the top. I talked about this in the market update. There is no reality that exists, guys, that I'm going to be FOMOing in on top of these green candles. Now, that does not mean that I don't think we can continue up. It just means that I don't really have an entry trigger or any kind of significant confirmation that tells me that this is a good place to take a long. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to not anticipate higher prices. We'll get into kind of the medium time frame price action in just a second. But we've got now that bounce, right? What did we want to see on last Friday's live stream? What did we want to see here on the weekly time frame? That big thing to look at. Go ahead and hide that. Oh, there's that position here. Just boop right through the stop loss. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to hide. Just get rid of that position just to clean up the charts. But obviously last week, guys, one of the things that we wanted to see here on the higher time frames was going to be the weekly candle closure, hopefully, and we wound up doing this, thank God. One of the things that we wanted to see was that weekly candle closure, guys, above the value area high at about 108,150. This was the higher time frame kind of, I guess, not confirmation, but like kind of the higher time frame candle closure that we were looking at, talking about, how, still to this point, right? Like if we do continue down, which I will talk about the probabilities of that, if we do get accepted back into this volume profile, obviously that value area high is the most important level to stay above, sitting right now at about $108,000. And you can see it's very similar to what we saw happen back here. We were okay coming down and testing these key levels before seeing another bounce to the upside. It's the same thing here, right? We've obviously gotten that big liquidation wick back into the profile. And on Friday, honestly, right, it's like kind of sketchy, right? Friday, we're down here, we're chilling, and we're like, oh my God, like, are we going to close the weekly candle down here? Obviously, closing that weekly candle down below this value area high would have been a lot more bearish, in my opinion, indicating a potentially bigger drop down to take out this wick low at $102,200, and potentially even start pointing down towards some of those bigger levels of support down towards the point of control of that range at $96,672. And luckily, we did get that weekly candle closure above that value area high. We stuck the support on our golden pocket, 786 Fibonacci retracement. This is really the only last level of support that we had down below, and we have obviously come to hit that first major target, which obviously is sitting at this golden pocket, value area low, 786 daily MPOC confluence. So just a little recap of kind of how we got to where we were. Support, right? Not only did we come on down into that key level of support, but we did see those high time frame bullish confirmations, again, looked at on the live stream on Friday. You have the lower lows on your price action, the higher lows on your momentum waves, and that does give us the idea that we could bounce out of here. We also had our money flow on the 4 hour coming up towards that zero line, or starting to trend back to the upside. This has now gotten very close to that zero line, looking to cross over into the green, which potentially could indicate what I'm going to talk about next, which is a potentially bigger continuation up to our next major target, which does sit here on the macro golden pocket POC confluence, sitting between about $117,000 and $118,252. I'm going to get a little bit more into that in just a second. Let me go ahead and check my camera here. Are we live again? Are we live again? No, we're not. We're still frozen. I think frozen in a slightly different position there. Interesting. I'm going to have to, this is why I don't update my computer, guys. I'm not going to lie. Everyone's like, you got to update the computer. It's like, I don't know. Every time I do it, it winds up being bad. But I will fix this by tomorrow's live stream. But I guess we're just going to go all screen today. I feel like I'm all alone. I feel like I'm all alone back down here, guys. But we had the 4 hour bullish divergences. Not just that, we also had our 8 hour bullish divergence printing, which is obviously a higher time frame bull div. Very nice. Higher lows on our momentum waves, lower lows on our price action, which is why we were expecting that bounce from the level here into our next key level of resistance. So the question is, guys, how big is the resistance that we're sitting at right now, and what are the chances of putting in a lower high and a lower low? Well, we do have to keep an eye on our higher time frame money flow. Now, obviously, 4 hour money flow does look okay here, in my opinion, looking for potential higher lows and higher highs. But our major level that we want to break above is still going to remain this value area low. And I'm going to take off all the confluent levels just to view this as a volume profile because it's a little bit cleaner. But at the end of the day, guys, if we are able to continue our move up here and flip that value area low to support, of course, we have that 786 sitting up there, so be aware of that. This is obviously a zone for the rejections, right? We don't know if we're going to get the lower high here at the golden pocket or if we're going to get the rejection here at the 786. I guess at the end of the day, we don't really know if that rejection is going to come in at all. But we are rejecting, just for full transparency, right? We're rejecting that first major level within this profile. And for me personally, right, if we do get a move above this value area low and we start flipping this level to support, this is what I'm going to be looking for a potentially bigger continuation to the upside. Because if you guys remember, going to the higher time frames here, we do still have to be somewhat careful. Money flow on the daily is attempting to come to the upside here, but this is not enough for me to say like, oh my God, this looks super beautiful. Let's send this into new all-time highs, at least just yet, right? We're going to talk about those big levels that, if broken, would indicate the higher probability being all-time highs, but this is not that first level, right? Or we are not above that first level just yet. I would say that value area low, call it $112,000, right? It's really sitting at about $111,800, but if we can get above that level, 4 hour money flow would be looking pretty good for a continuation up, right? Medium time frame, right? Based off the context of this money flow, right? On the 4 hour time frame. This doesn't negate the daily money flow coming out, right? But it could indicate a bit of a bigger continuation to the upside. I'll talk about some of the key levels down here locally that we can get a bounce off of. But all eyes on this 4 hour money flow, guys. If we can get that money flow crossover into the green, even if we get a bigger continuation down here for a retracement, we could look for the higher low, higher high structure to push us into that point of control, sitting at specifically specifically $117,694. But of course, we have to view that because in a range, right, or within a zone, because it is confluent with the golden pocket, the local 786, and then obviously the POC sitting in there as well. So, just from a simple standpoint, right, we've come up to that first major level. If we can get up in here and potentially hold this value area low with our 4-hour money flow crossing into the green, this would make me anticipate, right, probably look more something like this if we get the continuation down, right, higher lows and higher highs. That's what we're hoping for. You got to get above that value area low, and that would technically open the door. Flipping that level of support would open the door to potentially get that bigger continuation up into 117 to 118.3. Now, is that the mark of bottom being in and potentially new all-time highs coming in? Well, I'll be honest with you. It's starting to get interesting up here, right? And again, medium time frame, we can view this 4-hour money flow as the indication that we can continue the higher low, higher high structure, targeting that macro level at 117 to 118.3. However, this may not completely invalidate, right? We have to be careful. Last week, talking about if we're looking for lower highs and lower lows, which money flow being in the red on the daily, right? This is coming up, but locally we could eventually see this come back down. Looking at the 16-hour, money flow coming up. But again, if this VWAP comes down and gives us a red dot, that money flow could get dragged deeper into the red. Same situation here on the 12-hour. It's coming up, but of course, we do have to be careful of that rollover to just come into that bigger red wave. So I am still going to be very cautious here on the way up. Very nice bounce at the lows here, but we still have to be careful of the lower high, lower low situation on the higher time frames. And those big 3 key levels that we talked about on Friday were obviously the zone that we're hitting right now. Are we going to get the lower high in at this zone? Are we going to get the lower high at this zone? Or are we going to get it all the way up at that macro 786? These are still the biggest levels that I'm going to be looking at for those rejections. And we're already getting a little bit of a pullback from that first zone. Now, if we do get back in there, right, if we get back in here, 4-hour money flow cooks us up to the POC, obviously still an area we can look for the lower high and the lower low because this is the golden pocket retracement, right? If we pull up a little bit of a cleaner time frame here, let me go ahead and hide this local TA. Bada boom, right? If we just look at this from a higher time frame, it's like, well, hey, why are we looking at that level at $117,000 to $118,250 as a big level? Well, it is on that golden pocket retracement, right? So if we're just looking for a full retracement into the macro golden pocket, even the 786, which comes in at $121,000, this is that major level to look at for the lower high before potentially putting in a macro lower low, crossing down, breaking structure to the downside below $102,000, right? This is the farthest that we can go to put in that lower high. And the more we get up here, right, I have to be clear here. Golden pocket, 786. It's right. 786 is confluent with your value area high. POC is confluent with your golden pocket. So we do have to be very careful around these levels. But if we are able to get back up here and we see the higher time frame money flow start to come back into the green, we can say, right, for me personally, getting above this golden pocket POC is obviously going to open the door. Once you get above the value area low, hold it as support. Next stop is the POC. Flip the POC. Next stop is going to be the value area high. And in that same context, right, break above the golden pocket. Where's the next level for price to go? It's going to be that 786. And both of those levels are confluent with each other. Once we get above this, I start to feel a little bit better about all-time highs, and I'm like looking at the camera like you guys can actually see me. I'll just do one more check here to see if we're back. No, we're not. We're still frozen. Come on. I don't want to just be like out of the loop here. Come on. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to mess with it, guys, because I don't want to. Are we live? Oh my God, we're back. Okay. Oh, hey guys. Hey, it's me, Frankie Candles. Wild. But anyway, that was a roller coaster. If we get above this POC, guys, obviously the next target to the upside will be the value area high. This zone does sit between about $120,367 all the way up to $121,184 at that 786, but it is still not going to be technically until we get a breakout above this value area high, hold it as support, and not only that, guys, we need the higher time frame money flow to be very nicely coming into the green here if we are going to be anticipating new all-time highs to come. And again, when we were looking at those 786 retracements, why is this so important? Why is this the line in the sand for new all-time highs? Well, because if you get above that 786, it will invalidate the idea of that lower high coming in, right? If you're looking for a lower high and a lower low, potentially on the higher time frames, right, getting above this is going to be that level to hold, right? Because that invalidates the idea of the lower high based off the Fibonacci retracements. Now, can you get above here, potentially find some short setups to get back into the range, go back to the POC, go back to the low? Absolutely. We will be paying attention to that in the premium Discord in case it does not look like we're going to make a new all-time high. Again, I can't really make that call. We've been talking about this a lot. It's kind of difficult here because with the way money flow looks like right now, I can say, hey, maybe we fake out, maybe we see new all-time highs. But until we get up here and I can analyze the money flow, there's really no way for me to say that we're going to go into new all-time highs pretty much until it happens, right? Like if you want new all-time highs, We need the money flow to fake out. It's just impossible for me to say that here because sure, this money flow is coming up. That's better than nothing. But again, if you roll over with the VWAP here, it's probably going to drag that money flow back down. So my base case, right, my base sentiment here is cautiously optimistic, right? It's like, nice, we're holding the golden pocket 786. Most importantly, we are on top of the value area high at $108,000, right? That is the biggest level to remain above. We are okay testing it here for new all-time highs to come. As long as we stay above 107 to 108K, new all-time highs can come. We see them happen, right? We came back down, we dipped below, but now we're back above it. As long as we can stay on top of that value area high, get back into the range, right? Technically, the doorway to all-time highs is open, but I can't call that a high probability until we get above that 786, or maybe we can get an earlier signal if we see money flow start to shape up sooner than later at the POC. But I'd have to update you guys at that point because I just don't know what this is going to play out like, right? I just need the price action to develop. We need more information. We need the money flow to develop, etc. But these are definitely the key levels. It's very simple, right? I just want to get above here, flip it to support, have the 4-hour money flow continue up, right? And again, this would indicate the continuation up to the POC, but up here, it's all eyes on the higher time frame money flow. And again, I'll keep you guys updated, but that's pretty much what we're looking at. We're at our main target here. If we get a pullback, the question is, what levels do we not want to lose at this point, right? Yesterday or last week, it was the golden pocket 786, and right now, I would personally say, if we do get a retracement to the downside, there's a couple of different levels that I'm looking at. First, as always, I'm going to be looking at the golden pocket 786 retracement from the low to the high. This comes in. I don't love this level as much as the next level that I'm going to show you, only because it just gets a little bit sketchy, right? Because like once you get, if we bounce off this golden pocket 786, well, sure, hey, that could put in a higher low for another push to the upside to break structure, get back into the range, and continue up. However, here's the problem, right? We're back underneath that value area high at $108,000, right? So it doesn't mean you can't break out there, right? Just like back here. It's like we're in the profile. Doesn't mean we can't break out, but you got to close that weekly candle above here, which, again, we did, right? If we come back down there, it's just going to be one of those similar situations. It's like, cool, we can get the bounce off the golden pocket 786, but that $108,000 level is going to be massive, not massive, but like super important resistance on the way up. Because if we can't get back above this value area high, guess what? The higher probability is going to be to come and break structure to the downside here. So again, that's going to be kind of level number one. I'll draw this out as a box. Bada boom, bada bing. Sitting between about $106,654 all the way down to $105,218. And then the next more local level of support that I will be looking at is going to be, again, from a simple perspective, value area high would be very nice. If we come back down here and retest this high, I would love to not have to come back into this range. Because again, this is just a little bit sketchier. It's like, cool, you could bounce out, but you're back inside the profile, which just makes it a more difficult situation and a harder trade to take, to be quite honest. But if we do come back down and we do not have to break down below the value area high, simply, I'm looking at the chart saying, can I get any confluence on that value area high? And if we pull from this higher low all the way to our high here, you can see we do have a golden pocket coming in. You can look at a few different fibs here. Let me get rid of that brush, right? So this golden pocket pulled from this higher low to the high comes in beautiful confluence with that value area high. 786 dips down slightly below. And this does come in between about 108.3 down to 107.282, or 284 rather. And then the only other fib that we could pull here is obviously going to be this one. And if I move this up, right, I would probably favor this one because this doesn't take that value area high out as a key level, right? If I pull the lower fib, it's like golden pocket, 786. I want to hold the value area high anyway, right? So I'm just going to pull this up here and move this box above because you're still looking at the value area high as your key level of support. It's within your Fibonacci retracement. 786 value area high is very confluent. And then this golden pocket comes in closer to about 109.44, call it 109K. These are going to be the two zones that I'm looking at for support, guys. This would be my preferred area to bounce. Right here, again, why is that? Well, it's because we wouldn't have to deal with breaking back down below the value area high, right? And this could just be breakout, bullish retest. We already kind of got a retest right here, but this would bring you back down to potentially retest that value area high, and you have that golden pocket 786 confluence. So I do prefer this because I'd rather not come down here. It doesn't mean you can't bounce out of here. It's just, it's a bit of a harder trade. But when we look at it from like a strict TA perspective, if we lose this, it's not all lost yet, right? It's not until we lose this 786 at 105,180. Once we lose that and we cannot get back above it, that is where I will be expecting a much bigger drop down, closer to like 101 to probably $100,000. And I don't want to spend too much time on this just because like we're pretty far away at this point. But Why is this level so important, guys? Well, if we're looking for continuation to the upside with that 4-hour money flow coming up, I just think it will play out better if we bounce here. If we dig back down into here, this money flow is probably coming back out a little bit. It's just less of a clean setup. And again, you're below the value area high. And if we lose this 786, guys, it invalidates that idea of the higher low, right? And if we lose this, I would be looking to pretty much fill the rest of this liquidation wick down to 102K. Now, do we have any support down there that could indicate that maybe we could get a big bounce from that level? Well, as always, anytime, let me get rid of these fibs. Anytime we get back down below this value area high, I just not loving it, right? Just because, like, from the most simple perspective possible, you want to stay on top of this range high, right? And if we lose that lower 786, well, guess what? We're going to come take out, very likely, this low here at $102,000. We do have some support down there, which is very nice to see, right? We have a 2 daily MPOCs right below that wick. And then if we pull up that 50-week moving average, as we've looked at so many times in the past, I'll pull it up right here just in case somebody's in here that has not seen this. 50-week moving average, major high time frame support is coming pretty close in at that level as well. So we do have some decent confluence down here. Daily MPOCs, 50-week moving average, and even if we wick down a little bit, you have the $100,000 psychological level. So, if we do get that bigger drop down, this would be obviously the case that the bottom is not in, right? We have to get stuck back in here. This is the biggest level of support to hold. If we can't hold this, guys, at that point, we're accepted into the range, and there's nothing really underneath us besides that $96,000 POC, which we have looked at, 100 times on this channel. Anytime we lose that value area high, we are at risk of getting accepted into this range. But it's not just an instant drop down there, right? The last line of defense, in my opinion, would be that 50-week moving average. And if we have to break down below that, I will be looking for longs on this POC as well, but it's just going to be a lot more bearish in my opinion, right? Because if we have high time frame money flow coming out and we're getting the bounces here at the POC, is this, I almost said anchored VWAP, this 50-week moving average is probably going to be turning into resistance. And just historically, guys, when we get stuck under that 50-week moving average, it is not a great sign. We look back at 2021, we tap the 50-week, we tap the 50-week, we hold it, we tap it, we hold it, we tap it, we temporarily hold it. And then once you start closing those weekly candles down below, it's like, hey, on the way back up, that 50-week moving average is massive resistance, right? And then we eventually go into the bear market. This is a huge indicator that a lot of people use to indicate when the bear market will start. Once you break down below here decisively, multiple weekly candle closures, it's typically very, very bad. Now, this is also where we saw the weekly blood diamond print, right? On that bearish retest, weekly blood diamond prints, money flow crosses into the red, massive bear market. And you guys will know we saw that weekly blood diamond printing on our weekly candle. This has now disappeared. Thank God, right? That was like one of those really bearish signals that was printing at this, from a timing perspective. We talked a lot about this, how from a timing perspective, we are pretty much as long as we've ever gone in a cycle like this from bottom or from having to top. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit because I know there's like a big debate going on right now. Is the 4-year cycle going to play out like it has in the past, or are we going to see an extended cycle, which obviously this time being different is usually a bad bet to make. But if we see certain things change here, guys, macroeconomically, this might actually be different, right? And I'm not using that as my base case. Don't worry, we're going up. This time is different. We still have the massive bearish divergences up here on the higher time frames. We have the let me pull up the 2-month. Somebody brought this up in the premium Discord today. We have the 2-month red dot printing, right? This also gives us a massive 2-month bearish divergence. Now, we did have a whole bear market and an entire bear market between these highs, but we still have higher highs on our price action, lower highs on our momentum waves. That did mark the top. Essentially, you guys know I'm in the camp that this first top in 2021 was the top, and then this was kind of an inflated dead cat bounce to sweep out the liquidity and send us into a bear market. But you can see that 2-month red dot prints, bearish divergence, massive drop into the bear market. And now we have a potentially similar thing happening here on top of the weekly bear divs, on top of the 2-week bear divs that we looked at last week, that are all those same bearish signs that we saw in the previous cycle. They're all popping up here towards the end of the cycle. Almost all the same bearish confirmations we saw up in the 2021 top are now flashing here. This does not guarantee the top is in, but just to add insult to injury there, right? We have that 2-month red dot printing, which is, again, another higher high with another lower high on our momentum wave. So you do have that 2-month bearish divergence, something to pay attention to. And again, based off the fact that this is getting very close to where we have seen the cycles top out at, it is starting to get a little bit worrisome, right? Now, again, can we see the cycle extend? I think there's an argument to be made in this particular scenario where if we start printing money, which is to be expected, to be quite honest, right? They have to print money at some point to keep the American scam going, right? And if this causes the great melt up, right? You'll hear people talk about the great melt up, and the traditional markets do melt up into this money printing. I can only say to myself, right, regardless of the 4-year cycle, obviously, this is something we pay attention to, and this one-to-one time fib that we've been talking about on October 20th, we are now finally here, right? And again, it's not a to-the-day thing. It's not like, well, the top has to be in because we're at this level, or the top has to come in at this day. It's more of like a range, right? It's more of like an estimation. We can totally see this continue past this and put in a new all-time high. But again, we have all the bearish confirmations, etc. But you know, when I might make a pre-recorded video going a little deeper into this in more detail. But at the end of the day, right? 4-year cycles have obviously rhymed very, very closely in the past, right? But when people say this time is different, there's a difference between saying this time is different, just giving out hopium, just saying, don't worry about it, guys, we're going to go up. Like, Bitcoin's more bullish than ever. Just don't worry about any of the bearish signs or anything like that. But when you actually have things that are different, and if you guys watch my show at all, you will know we pay attention to the 4-year cycle. It's not something I would ever ignore, and that's why we're talking about this being a very key time in the cycle. But what really moves Bitcoin, guys? Bitcoin follows traditional finance. I've done this a million times. We pull the SPY over Bitcoin. It mirrors the traditional markets. And when I look at the charts, right, when I sit down here at night and I'm just like kind of looking at the charts by myself, and I'm just like taking a, not on camera view at the market, I'm just like, what are the chances of this time being different? Well, at the end of the day, if we see crazy money printing, right, if that does wind up coming in at some point, which I can't promise is going to happen just because it seems like it's very likely to happen. I can't promise if or when that's going to happen. I could say it's very likely to eventually happen. Saying when is very hard. But if we see that happen, right, like what typically happens, right, that fuels risk on assets, right? And if the traditional markets are melting up on money printing, I can only say to myself, like, do I think that if we have a melt up on the stock market with money printing, right, would I just think, well, the 4-year cycle on Bitcoin has already happened, so it doesn't matter, right? Bitcoin's going into a bear market because of the 4-year cycle? No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I'd be more inclined to lean on the fact that if the stock market is melting up, it is a way higher probability that Bitcoin is just going to follow. And in that case, I will fade the 4-year cycle. Right? Because again, I know the halving cycle is important. The supply shock is important. It's part of what makes Bitcoin so good, right? But to say that the 4-year cycle is the only thing that moves this price is just a fallacy, right? And I'll just show it for anybody who has not seen it yet. If I overlay the SPY over Bitcoin here, I'll pin it to another scale, right? We'll pop them on log, and you guys can just see here, right? If I just hide the indicators or hide the TA, right? Like this is massive C19 dump, stock market goes down, Bitcoin goes down. Big recovery, big bull market for the stock market, big bull market for Bitcoin, right? Big bear market for the stock market, big bear market for Bitcoin. Stock market bottoms out, goes into a bull market. Bitcoin bottoms out, goes into a bull market. Like even here, right? Massive correction, recovery, right? It mirrors traditional finance. And if they're going to print money and it's going to melt the stock market to the upside, I would say that the 4-year cycle at that point, not that it doesn't matter, but I'm putting much more weight on the fact that Bitcoin is probably going to follow the stock market. And like that would be great, right? It's obviously a melt up is not great long term for everything, but it would be, good for risk on assets. And, obviously Bitcoin is probably the most risk on asset you could be in, official risk on asset, I guess. So it's a very interesting time right now, guys. It's like timing wise, we're coming up towards the end. Are we going to see the great melt up? And it's like, there's always something that people are calling for, right? But I just take a straight logical approach. If they print money, guys, it's probably going to be good. And I would not just say, 4-year cycle's over, stock market's going to go up and Bitcoin goes down. If that were to happen, if the stock market just melts up and then Bitcoin takes a big drop into a bear market, well, then we can say, hey, 4-year cycle's more important than just watching this follow traditional finance. So I just wanted to talk about that. There is an argument to be made here. It's just I can't guarantee they're going to print money. I can't guarantee like when they're going to start printing money. So I was like, is that going to happen tomorrow, today, next FOMC meeting? Like, I don't know when that's going to happen. But if that were to happen, it's an if this, then that. If this cycle is going to extend, I want to give you guys some kind of like tangible information to actually lean on without just saying like, don't worry about the dumps, guys. Like, we're just going to go up because higher prices, yay, Bitcoin, right? Like I want to give like actual things to look at. And I just want you guys to understand if they do print money and it causes a melt up, Bitcoin is very likely to follow that regardless of the 4-year cycle because that's what we've seen happen in the past. And it's not until, even in different situations I've talked about this, it's not until either the stock market goes down like crazy and Bitcoin goes up like crazy or vice versa that I would have to say that the 4-year cycle is the thing that moves price alone, right? And that's what you should be paying attention to. And I'm always in the camp of eventually you will see these cycles extend or just change in general based off the maturing of the asset, right? The higher the market cap, the less explosive the dumps and the pumps are. So the cycle's going to change over time no matter what, in my opinion. We talked about how a lot of people have been comparing this liquidation wick to the C19 wick, which in my opinion is not the best comparison because, of course, this liquidation had happened while we were like still pretty much in a bear market. And we already have, like this was before the halving, right? You already have the halving and the entire bull market, whether you're looking at the 4-year cycle or just the macro liquidity cycle, you would be anticipating that you had a lot more upside ahead of you. But this is different in the case that we're having this big liquidation wick at a top after an all-time high comes in. This is much different. This is much more similar to like big liquidation wicks that you have like here or here, right? It's coming off of all-time highs, right? Big liquidation wick, all-time high, big liquidation wick, and we do continue down. And that's why I say like the C19 event is not really the best thing to compare to, but I kind of thought to myself, like maybe this is what people are kind of looking at, right? They get the C19 liquidation and then the money printing and just gives you that massive explosion to the upside. And in that way, it is a bit more comparable, but like from a cycle perspective and just where you were in the market, this big liquidation wick happened basically in a bear market, right? Not at an all-time high, or even this wick we compared it to. It's like this is much closer to where we are cycle-wise to see those liquidation wicks. So it is like a totally different situation. But again, if they print money, it could cause that melt up. And you would still be betting against something completely different than has ever happened. But this could be something that we've never seen happen, right? There's an actual reason to look for that. And I will never call that for my base case. I'm never just going to create hopium based off that. But that is just the pure fact of it. If they print money, and we melt up, like Bitcoin, in my opinion, right? The camp I fall into is Bitcoin will 100% follow that. So you're still kind of like rooting for something that's never happened, but there is that would be the basis of expecting this time to be different. Never my base case. This does not change the fact. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, they're going to print money eventually. Just hold on. It's going to go up eventually, right? Like, I'm not just going to, I've been talking about how my fingers have been getting itchy up here to take profit on my Bitcoin. But this might kind of, when I take profit here, I'm not going to come completely out of the market, right? Like I don't think I'll ever sell all of my Bitcoin, but I will take profits here. This was very close to one of my major bull market targets. And just with the timing of the cycles here, it's like, why not take some money off the table? I'm already up like 500% on my spot Bitcoin bags. This would not be me taking profit because I think the top is in 100% or anything like that. It would just be more of a, like I said on Friday, it's just more of like, I'm in from like $20,000. I'm up like almost 500% on my Bitcoin bag, right? Like this is more of just like me managing my risk, right? It's just like me taking some off the table after being massively in profit. I know, and I want to share this with you guys. If I do take profit, I just like to share with you guys what I do. I just don't want that to ever be like, oh my God, I took profit. The top is in, right? Like it's not going to be the case, right? Like I'm holding from much lower. I'd be like silly not to take more profit up here. And then if we get the melt up, I'll still be slightly exposed to the market. I have not taken the profits yet, but if I do, I just want to like preface that. Like it's not just because like, oh my God, I know the top is in 100%, so I'm taking profits. It has a lot to do with where I'm in at and just my general plan and just like sticking to my rules of not only trading, but like my long-term investments. So there's some, small thought process or, I don't want to say small, probably spent a bit of time on that, but that's my kind of thought process there. I just wanted to talk about that because they print money, right? Like Bitcoin follows traditional finance, guys. But it doesn't mean I'm ignoring all the bearish divergences. It doesn't mean I'm ignoring the fact that we're here at this point of the 4-year cycle. I could, you could take both things into account, right? You don't just always have to like take one side and that's it. I think everybody just goes for that all in or nothing, right? It's like, I either hold for 200K or I just hold to the bottom. Like it doesn't have to be like that, especially if you're in for much lower prices. And at least that's how I'm going to handle it. I just like to share and be transparent with you guys, like what's going through my head here. Because, if there was something here that was saying the top is definitely in, right? Like it's just never that easy, right? So a lot of people would be like, well, if you don't know if the top is in, like how do you navigate that? Well, very simple. I'm up 500%. I could take some off the table, take a good amount off the table, and still stay slightly exposed in case we do see that melt up. That way I'm not totally left out, right? A lot of people would be like, oh, he sold before the rip. And it's like, I'm still exposed, right? I'm still making money. So, but yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on that. I did want to cover that a little bit because over the weekend I was taking like a deep thought into just looking at the higher time frames, looking at these bearish signals, the weekly divergences, the 2-week bearish divergences, now the 2-month bearish divergences, the 2-month red dot, and just thinking like, what are the chances that this extends? Because it's never zero, right? It's never 0% chance, and it's never 100% chance. So if we were to see that melt up, it would have to be on that money printing, and that's kind of the bet you're making. Like, how likely do you think it is, or how soon do you think they're going to start printing money? I wish I knew, right? I wish there was a website that told me they're going to print money on this day. And if anybody knows about that, please let me know in the chat. And then I won't take profit. I'm just kidding. All right, let's see. Shout out to Tony D. Said, Frankie Candles, they picked a narrative that benefits them. We all do. The real nitty gritty is that nobody knows, and you got to plan for both. Absolutely. Shout out to Tony D. I couldn't have said that better myself. I think a lot of people, I think most traditional, like most normal, like you call them normies. I think it's like kind of derogatory. I don't call them normies, but like people who are not in crypto full time, right? Like I think they're just like, they want to hear that it's going up. They want to hear that it's going up. And I think I've done my best to present the bearish case. And I did just want to also show you guys, like, there is a bullish case here, right? It just can't be my base case because this time is different, has never been different. But there are things here potentially pointing towards the great melt up. And I do think Bitcoin will be a big part of that, right? So we'll see. And there's going to be new information every day. But all we can do is go off the chart. So for me personally, right now, the only trades that I am holding right now is my short. I'm still holding my short with multiple TPs locked in, stop loss in profit above this high. If we come back up and rip through this $116,000 high, I'll be stopped out in more profit, right? So I've already got that locked in. I'm just kind of chilling in that to see if we can either continue down or I'll get stopped out in profit. I'm just going to hold that and wait for the stop loss to get hit or wait for it to continue to pay me out. Again, we have the long setup here. I'm not personally holding it, unfortunately, because I got stopped out on a wick. But that's what I'm looking at. Short-term and long-term, like, cycle update there, guys. And again, once we hear Fed Powell, once we hear Powell talk a little bit, we'll get a little more information on that. Maybe. Not that he ever speaks clearly. He kind of just speaks in backwards riddles and tries to, like, basically say a bunch of stuff without saying anything. But we'll see. Let's watch this 4-hour money flow, see if we can get that move into our next key levels, which, again, if you just tuned in, I'll just pull these up real quick for you guys so you can get an idea, right? First level we looked at yesterday. Beautiful to see the target hit, right? Hey, guys, close the weekly up here. Let's see if we can get that push into the value area low. We're now sitting there, so trading very technically here. But we'll see if we can, flip that 112K level with the 4-hour money flow coming up, push into that POC. That'd be the next major target to the upside. One honorable mention here is we do have a daily level sitting at about $115,211. So some local resistance. I'm not going to go over this too much. It's just like, it's there. You got to be aware of that. If we come up, you might get a little cool off. But I would say, like, the bigger confluent levels are definitely still going to be the same as last week, right? We're just pushing into what we looked at for the first level. We get above here. Next big target, 117 to 118.3. And then once we start getting up here, I start to feel a little better about potentially scamming out of here. But again, it's not until we break that 786 up here. So I'll leave that there. That's what I'm looking at. And we'll see. Right now, currently, we do have the some medium time frame red dots we're going to print. 5-hour red dot, 6-hour red dot, 8-hour VWAP rolling over here as well. I'm not in a short position as of right now, but we have, there's a little 45-minute blood diamond. But we do have some bearish divergences printed here into our key level of resistance, higher highs, lower highs, right? So no shocker here that we're getting resistance at this level, or turbulence, as I like to call it. And then if we do pull back, right, those local levels that I went over in the beginning of the stream, first level, we'll be sitting right here. If we get a bigger correction down and these bearish divergences do give us a continuation, we will be looking between about 109 to the value area high at $108,000. I would hope that if we get the bigger continuation down locally, that we can hold this as a higher low, retest the high, and then send it back up, again, with 4-hour money flow coming up. Does that make sense? I'm going to come into the chat here real quick. Let's see. Shout out to Jers, I don't know how to say your name. I apologize. He says, I'm so overly exposed, and I just accumulated more on the dip, so it's going to take a lot out of me to sell if we go under $100,000. Shout out to Jers. Yeah. Oh, man, overexposed. Good Lord. Shout out to you, brother. I'm praying for you. As always, guys, praying for price to go up. But again, I try to take a rational approach here. I know a lot of people just cover the bullish case, and that's why I spent a lot of time going over the bearish case last week. But again, it's not all doom and gloom, right? Like, and it doesn't even really change my long-term thesis, right? Like, my long-term thesis is can you see the cycle extend? Sure, but you're betting on something we've never seen happen. And even if we do think that thing can happen, it still has not happened before, right? We're still seeing that thing that's never happened happen. So it's like really, really crazy stuff here. So I'm just going to keep an eye here on the key levels. We're going to trade it level to level, and we'll see, right? Biggest local levels to look at if we get the retracement down. Golden Pocket 786 value area high, 109.53 to 108.27. And again, the most bullish case is that we don't have to go fill that wick. Right? We don't have to come fill this wick in the bigger levels of support. And if the bottom is in, we're hoping to hold these levels, scam up, flip the value area low, and then cook through the profile. And then we'll assess those higher levels as we get them. All right, let's see. Yo, shout out to Infinite Team. I don't have the stream deck on, but shout out to Infinite Team. Thank you for gifting those 5 Frankie Candles memberships. I appreciate you so much. And I think he dropped a super chat earlier today as well. Said, bing bong, smash that like button or Bitcoin goes to zero, guys. Don't forget, the easiest way to pump Bitcoin is to pump up those likes. Shout out to Infinite Team. Said, congratulations, Jesse. Yeah, guys, we got a new blue wrench in the chat. We got Jesse, our like police, as officially got given his badge. Let's go. Shout out to Jesse. Let's see here. Can we go back to January so I can take profits on my altcoins? Shout out to Costa. I wish. If I ever have the ability to do that, brother, I will. Let's see. Is alt season possible yet? I can do a quick little update on that. Rhodium about to go parabolic, they're saying. Shout out to Flat Smack. Interesting. Shout out to Flat Smack. Welcome in, brother. OG of the Candle Mafia. Let's see. Okay, so as far as alt season, I'm just going to bring up dominance here real quick. I'll pull it up on the alt chart here. Bada boom, right? So dominance still, right, chilling underneath this Fibonacci retracement. Again, we do have to be a little bit careful here just because of our daily money flow. Green dot looking to print. It looked like it wanted to print last week, but we didn't get it. But now that VWAP is continuing up towards that zero line. So once we get that green dot on the daily for dominance, right, I would not be shocked if we could see dominance come up a little bit more, maybe test some of these Fibonacci levels again. But the major levels of resistance, is alt season possible, right? Well, when I look at the higher time frames here on the 2-day, right, money flow coming out and continuing out, 3-day money flow continuing to the downside, right? Like this shows me that the overall macro trend could be weakening and may be able to switch to an overall downtrend. So instead of like the continuation of the trend up, right, you're going to be looking for the lower highs and lower lows. And the first major level for that to happen is going to be between that golden pocket 786, sitting between 60.48% and 61.47%. If you get above that 786 and we push into the golden pocket, a bigger golden pocket 786 POC confluence, this is the next area that I would be looking at for a hopeful lower high, lower low. This would not invalidate, right? Coming up in here and testing these levels would not invalidate the overall larger continuation of the trend. It would not invalidate, hopefully, the higher time frame money flow coming out, right? So you have the money flow coming out. Sure, these green dots can give you pushes up, but lower high and lower low is the overall anticipation. So is it possible? Yes. I wouldn't really be until we flip this POC to support and start cooking that I'd be like, yikes, this is really, really bad. But until then, right, it could feel really bad until it's not. So people always tell me, like, when alt season, right? It's impossible to say when. The only thing I can say is, like, when alt season? Well, alt season when this breaks down, right? When we continue this bigger downtrend. But it's very hard to say if this is going to be the rejection or if it's going to be up here. Right, and at the end of the day, there's no guarantee that it has to reject there. But based off the charts here, money flow comes back into that bigger red wave. That's what you want to see. All right, we come back here to the last time that we were bing-bonging around in this range, right? That 3-day money flow crosses into the red. We wound up getting that big breakdown. But it doesn't mean you can't get the turbulence, right? 4-day money flow, where that crossover, I was in the red for a while, to be honest. But that's still what I'm going to be looking at. Like, I would still say from a higher time frame perspective, like, this money flow is coming out. Like, it's not even my opinion. It just is. This would indicate the trend is weakening, looking for lower highs and lower lows. It's very hard for me to say exactly when this will happen. But, if you want to know when alt season, like, it's when this happens. I just can't tell you exactly when. I wish I had that crystal ball. It's out in the shop. I had to get fixed. The mystical fluid that we used to run the crystal ball was broken, so I had to bring it to it's a nightmare. It's very niche. There's not a lot of people that fix crystal balls, but it's out there. If I had it, I would know exactly when this was going to happen. But yeah, I mean, dominance still, like, kind of like no real big update on the higher time frames. Daily money flow crossing into the green with our daily bullish divergences down here made us anticipate this rise to the upside on dominance. We got it, and money flow is still potentially potentially still in the green here, potentially looking to go higher. Green dot looks to print, and I would still say there's an opportunity to get more retracements here, which is not going to be amazing for altcoins. Ideally, this thing just rolls back over and we just get the dump from here. That could happen too, right? In that case, alt season maybe sooner than later. But TA says that you could still have a little bit longer to wait. Taking a look at Ethereum, obviously, guys, we've talked about this umpteen times. Bing bonging around the range. If we lose this value area low, right, we were looking for the test of 3530 on our macro value area high. We've come down, we've tapped that level, and I hate to bring this up again, but I think it's important, right, because it's like exactly what we saw happen on Bitcoin. Macro 786 Fibonacci retracement was really the doorway to new all-time highs on Bitcoin, right? We broke above it. Little like 7% all-time high. We came back down, retested 786, retested 786. We lost it. What did we retest here? We simply retested the value area high of your macro range. You can see it right in there on that golden pocket. It's literally the level that we tested. So it's like okay to play around with these 786s. It's like, all right, you test it, you lose it, you hold the value area high, you get back above, and then the bigger move up starts. It's the same exact thing on Ethereum. 786 on Ethereum sits, I just know this, it's about $4,080. It's pretty much this POC. You get the drop down, you pull your fib from the high to the low. This is your doorway to new all-time highs. Bitcoin was able to get above, test it, retest the range high, and go up into new all-time highs. Ethereum obviously got rejected for a massive drop, rejected again for a massive drop. But now we had broken above it, and what happens here? Right? It's the same exact thing on Bitcoin. You broke above it, retest, you slip it, you test that value area high. So the goal here is to get back above that 786, which again is that POC of the range. So it kind of bleeds into our local levels as well. Get back above that 786, reclaim it, and hopefully get that bigger move up into new all-time highs. But locally, like that's just like long-term scenario, right? It's the same exact thing. It's just happening later for Ethereum. Set macro 786, about $4,080. That is the biggest level to remain above to keep the doorway to all-time highs open, and we're almost there. Now, locally, if we come on down to a lower time frame, obviously we had looked at two golden pocket retracements, right? The first one we were looking at was right here. We were getting a little bit of a bounce last week. And what happens, right? We were talking about how, like, this is a local fib. This is not the strongest level, right? We could potentially come back down to our bigger Fibonacci retracement, which was obviously sitting right down here between 37.64 and 36.16. This wound up being the golden pocket that we wanted. I always prefer the full golden pocket retracement. We're getting the bounce. We're now back within the profile. We got to the POC. If we could stay within this range, or even if we have to break down and put in a higher low before getting back in, the biggest level to break above on Ethereum right now, in my opinion, is going to be the POC at about $4,084. And then, again, that is your macro 786 as well. So, even if we have to lose this slightly, really what you need to do is, number one, break above the POC. That would be very nice. That's, again, your macro 786. And then once you get above this local 786 at 41.64, this is where I say, hey, let's come break structure to the upside here, which, of course, could push you up towards that value area high. So the volume profile on Ethereum that I am looking at currently is going to be value area low 39.34, POC, golden pocket confluence sitting at about 4,084 in confluence with that macro 786. And just so you guys know exactly where that is, right? I'll just pull this from the tippy top all the way to the bear market bottom, and you can see it is very, very close to that point of control, right? It's kind of just right in the middle there, $4,017. So we're trying to get back above that, but I would say break above the 786 at about 41.62. I'm looking to crack structure to the upside here and hopefully get to the value area high. At the end of the day, in order to really see new all-time highs for Bitcoin, I would say, I mean, we could even look at this local, not local fib, but this full fib. Let me just turn this into entry mode. Where's the macro golden pocket retracement for Ethereum? I mean, it's sitting all the way up here at 45.60. This is the doorway to all-time highs. Like, sure, this could be good for all-time highs, but it's like you could still get lower highs here for another drop down. It's not until just like Bitcoin, the $121,000 786 is very similar to this level right here. Get above the POC, cook through the profile, flip that 786. Hopefully money flow looks really good, and then we can get that push into new all-time highs. Until then, we still have to be very careful here. Daily money flow is technically in the red. It's trying to come up here, but nothing to write home just yet, right? This could roll back over. Money flow can come deeper into the red. So again, we just need more information here, but these are the local levels that I'd be looking at on Ethereum. I'll take that 786 off just to clean up the chart. Value area low, POC, value area high. And again, this value area high 786 is going to be very important. And we'll cover this, if we come up here, I'll give you guys updates on what's going on up here. But that's what I'll be looking at. Of course, very similar to Bitcoin, 4-hour money flow on Ethereum has crossed over into the green. So this is kind of front running Bitcoin, as Bitcoin's money flow is not crossed over green yet. But yeah, Ethereum a little bit ahead of that. 4-hour money flow crossover into the green, which means what, right? We're getting the bounce from support. Let's take this off the chart. Means that we could potentially continue our higher low and higher highs based off the 4-hour time frame. Full Fibonacci retracement would be sitting right here. So this is like similar to the local support, 2 local support levels I gave you on Bitcoin. But for Ethereum, it's going to be sitting between 38.35 and 37.61. And then, of course, we could also pull from here to here, which gives you the value area low support, right? So it's like, it'd be really nice to stay on top of the value area low, get above that POC sooner than later. But if we do have to lose this value area low, we could potentially come as low as 37.64, right? That would still give you an opportunity to put in a higher low, get back above the volume profile, stay inside, flip the POC, and get the bigger move up. That would be the bullish case. If we lose our full 786 retracement down here, that's going to be big support, right? Because this is untapped. We bounced off the golden pocket, so I'm actually going to take this off the chart. If we break that local 786, next big level to look at, in my opinion, let me actually... If we, don't get the higher low for the bigger continuation up and we lose this 786, I will be looking down back towards that value area high, macro 786, between 35.76 and 35.14, 35.30, right? $3,500 essentially, right? Like that's the range high that you want to hold on top of. Once we start getting accepted into there, then you're looking to break back into this volume profile. And we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But these are the next biggest levels of support in my own personal opinion for Ethereum. So there you go. 4-hour money flow still looks pretty good. 6-hour money flow, 8-hour money flow, red dot looking to print, 12-hour money flow, trying to come back up. But again, your VWAP is coming down. We'll see how this develops. Daily money flow, same thing. And then 2-day money flow doesn't look that bad, right? Even on Bitcoin, you have the 2-day green dot, money flow coming up locally here, but we still want to see this come up aggressively. We don't want to see this be just another lower high, right? High, lower high, lower high, lower high, continuation of that trend to the downside. That is not what you want to see. You want to see this money flow scamming back up into the green. So we'll see what happens. But that's what I'll be looking at on Ethereum. Let's see. Let me jump back into chat. Shout out to AM. Says, can't get enough of Frankie. Enjoyed the premium live stream and now also chilling with the regular one turned on. Waiting on Biddy to hit my limits, then Moon. Shout out to AM. Let's go, baby. Let's go. He's got that plan from the premium Discord. Ready to execute, baby. Ready to execute. Shout out to Disco Way. Says, Frankie Candles, what are your views on swing trading on XRP? More risky, question mark. Much appreciated, sir. No problemo, brother. I mean, listen, you can 100% trade altcoins, right? The one thing that I would be a little bit careful of is, what example do I want to show for this? Let me just see something here real quick. So if I pull up Bitcoin here, we came down to our macro. Yeah, when is this? This was our macro golden pocket. This was happening on Friday. Or this did happen on Friday at about 5:45 a.m. Yeah, it was the same thing. So the only thing I would just be careful of is you could see really bullish setups sometimes on altcoins. And if you're not keeping an eye on what Bitcoin is doing, sometimes you can have the most bullish setup on an altcoin, and then Bitcoin just decides to dump the bed. And obviously, altcoins very oftentimes, not 100% of the time, but very oftentimes, right? Bitcoin's the leader. If Bitcoin dumps, the altcoins are probably going to follow suit. So I've just been, when I first started trading, right, I just thought to myself, like, why don't I just trade altcoins, right? Because the percentages are going to be much bigger, right? If Bitcoin moves 10%, maybe Ethereum moves like whatever, or altcoins will move like 35, 40%, maybe more, maybe less. But they're going to give you those bigger percentage gains. And I would just think to myself, well, hey, if everything just, if the altcoins are going to give me a bigger percentage gain, like why not leverage myself in that way by only trading altcoins and getting the bigger percentage moves? But the problem you run in there is like sometimes you'll find really bullish setups and then Bitcoin dumps, and obviously, altcoins more often than not will follow, and you're going to be like, well, what the heck? Why'd that happen? And you're going to look at Bitcoin and be like, oh, wow, Bitcoin looked really bearish. So I would just like caution yourself with that. But But, it's a little, there's like a trade-off, right? Like you could look at that as a little bit more risky. However, you are also giving yourself opportunity to get more gains. I always recommend as beginner traders, you would want to stick to one asset, right? Like master Bitcoin, and then you can move on in and, apply everything you learned on Bitcoin to altcoins. You'll be much better at like keeping an eye on Bitcoin. A year or two into your trading, you're going to be looking, I was like, I don't know, Bitcoin looks super bearish. Maybe I'm going to sit on this altcoin trade. So that's kind of my view. Hopefully that helps you out. Infinite Team, thank you for the 5 Frankie Candles memberships. And Golden, thank you for the super chat. I don't have my stream deck on, so I can't do any sound effects. But shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He said, if we can get 420 likes, I will drop free membership. Shout out to Golden. Let's go, baby. Run up the likes, baby. Run up the likes. And it's not going to be as exciting because I can't do the jackpot sounds, but I'll make my own jackpot sounds. Shout out to Golden. Drop those golden emojis in the chat if you got them. Let's see. He said, smashing the like button is free for you to do, but for me to drop 50 memberships, that costs $250. Let's hit 420 likes. Shout out to Golden, the GOAT, baby, the GOAT, brother. Thank you so much for always supporting the channel and the Mafia, giving them those free memberships. We appreciate you endlessly, brother. Drop those gold emojis in the chat. Golden, you got to save us. Golden, buy the dip, baby, buy the dip. Dump it all in, Golden. 1000x leverage. Send it to the moon, baby. Come on. And shout out to Infinite Team for gifting those memberships. Shout out to Prod, Jay Hines, Jeremy Butts, Sugar Baby, and father of AJ's. Shout out to you, brother. Welcome to the Candle Mafia. Now you can never leave. I'm just kidding. We're friendly. Hashtag not a cult. We just like to light candles all the time. All right, let's see. Bought a new Pew Pew today. Shout out to Satoshi Glockamoto. Was it a Glock? Let me know, brother. Let me know. What'd you get? Let us know. Don't keep us in the dark. Let's see. Nothing better than a golden waterfall. Shout out to Darren Does Things. Not a shower, but a waterfall. But yeah, took a quick look at Ethereum, or Ethereum as I like to call it. Let's do a quick check-in. I will take a look at some of the altcoins here, guys. I have been trying to I know a lot of people are exposed to altcoins. I know a lot of people want to hear about the altcoins, but I haven't really been spending as much time on them just because we're really waiting for more information to develop. I think most people are just waiting when is alt season? When is alt season? When is alt season? And, I can show the key levels. I can show the major doorways to lower prices, doorways to higher prices, lines in the sand, all that good stuff. But again, there's not really going to be anything on the Solana chart that tells me all season starting, right? We're really waiting for those bigger factors to come into play that we talked about earlier today. But let's jump into XRP really quickly here. Let me take a sip of that Aztecian Cactus Starbucks water. What's your favorite Starbucks order? Let me know in the chat. I wonder if anybody gets what I get. It's nothing special. It's the most basic thing you can ever get. Let's see. Yo, look at the golden emojis in the chat. I love it, baby. I love it. All right, let's take a look at Solana here real quick. So, here we are, continuing to hold above our major level of support, which is the macro 786, right? Or I guess, maybe not. Yeah, I guess macro. From this low all the way to the high. When you're looking for the higher lows and the higher highs, guys, the levels to look at that to come in are going to be the value area low. Well, really the golden pocket retracement, right? You have your low, your high, potential higher low for a higher high, right? But we see money flow coming into the red, indicating lower highs and lower lows. That doesn't mean it's all lost yet, right? If it's not going to come in at the golden pocket, it could still potentially come in on that 786 Fibonacci retracement. And when we look at those weekly candles here, we did close, just like Bitcoin closing above the $108,000 level was what we wanted to see on Solana. This really would have been closing the 786 on top of our anchored VWAP and our 786 Fibonacci retracement at 176.71. I can't guarantee that that means the bottom's in, right? But this is much better than closing the weekly candle below the anchored VWAP, below the 786, because what would that do? That would make it a much higher probability, right? Getting stuck under the 786 that you're not going to get your low, high, higher, low, higher, high. That would kind of invalidate that idea, indicating much bigger drops down. So currently, as it stands right now, we're above that 786. We're above the daily. We're above the anchored VWAP. That is nice. We have now come back up to retest our value area low. Let me actually take this off the chart real quick. Take off that golden pocket because we've already tapped it. Take off this daily naked point of control. And yeah, so we've gotten that bounce, right? Here's your slight, again, ignore, I don't want to say ignore the liquidation wick, but like look where price is settling. This was our next key level of support. Yes, you got the massive liquidation, but this is all longs getting wrecked, right? This is all the leverage getting squeezed out of the market. Still represents price action, but look where price wound up settling. It wound up settling, shocker, right on our key level of support, which again is that 786, right? So as long as we stay on top of the 786, the biggest level on Solana, in my opinion, 176.78, and we are. And where'd that lower high come in? Right on the golden pocket, 786 retracement. Where's that pulled from? Yeah, the high right here. So I'm going to leave this here, right? I'll actually take off the golden pocket because we've already tapped it. Still have the 786 confluence up here on the POC, but at this point, right, you're kind of in between two big levels. Value area low is your doorway to higher prices to potentially open the door up to the POC, sitting at about 216.64. Also confluent with that 786. And to the downside, we really do not want to lose that 786. If we lose that 786, that is your doorway to lower prices. And just to take a look at some of those lower prices, let's pull up our larger range. And yeah, actually, let's not look at those lower prices anymore. I don't want to look at them. But no, for real, if you want it to come down and, maybe Bitcoin fills the wick, maybe Ethereum has to fill the wick. If that were going to be the case, right, we're obviously looking to fill this wick down to $147. If we lose, at that point, right, we're looking for the break of structure, and that could push you right into this point of control at $141. Still really far away from that, but just to kind of point at like why this 786 is so important, right? You want to break above your value area high or doorway to higher prices, which sits right here. We're testing it right now. That opens the door to the POC, and then your doorway to lower prices is that 786. You break back into there, right? Well, guess what? You're potentially, let me zoom out to a higher time frame, right? Getting accepted back into your value area high, right? Like this is, when you look at this from a macro perspective, right? This is like a bearish retest of the value area high, right? Which is obviously a very key level to get above. But where is the value area low of the upper range? It's literally sitting right on that value area high, right? So it's like rejecting from this level is potentially, and then losing this 786 is like you're looking at that as acceptance into your, wrong range. Getting accepted into your bigger profile, which could mark a push down to fill that wick. And again, if you're looking at that POC of the range, lose the value area high, can't get back above it, could cause that bigger drop down. Well, where is this POC? Hang on one second. That's the value area low. Did I delete that? POC sitting right there below $141. I did delete it. Right below that wick, right? Does that make sense? I know this might be a little bit confusing to maybe new people, right? It's like the reason I want to get out of here is because if you can't get back above this value area high, the way the volume profiles work, very oftentimes, if you can't get above this value area high, you're getting accepted into this area of value between the value area high and the value area low. The chances of filling this become very high if you cannot break out of that value area high. High. Right? And then if you're going to get a bounce out of here, the last level to bounce off of, in my opinion, is that 786 sitting down here at $177.29 or $177. Lose this, right? At that point, you're just getting accepted into this profile, even if I delete all this stuff. How do we look at this from a clean perspective? It's like, well, hey, deviation above, try to get out. If you can't do that, right, you could go for that bigger acceptance into the range, targeting the POC and the value area low. Hopefully that's not the case, right? In order for that to be the case, you have to lose that 786. Let me just pull this, bada boom. And yeah, I guess I potentially could look at this as well. Whoops, there we go. Yeah, I guess you would, we'll see. If we get the drop down, we could look at these local levels. But at the end of the day, it's like if you bounce off this golden pocket or you bounce off the 786, it's like you have a lot of work to do to get out of this volume profile. So very magnetic nature to these volume profiles if you don't know. So we'll see. That's going to be the major key level to stay on top of. Lose this low at $176. Probably looking for that bigger drop down. At least a drop down to this bigger golden pocket 786 between 171 and 160. But again, even getting the bounce here, could it be a higher low? Maybe, but again, you have to fight out of this profile, which I just don't love, right? Especially when you have that magnetic level of the POC down below. So ideally, we don't have to deal with that. Ideally, we can just get that push up and get out of here and get back into this bigger profile and not have to deal with any of those lower levels. Let's just hold this and get back up in here. That would be the preferred scenario. So that's what I would look at on Solana. And, of course, money flow back in the green, similar to Ethereum. Let's see if we can cook up here. Above the anchored VWAP. And that's another thing as well, right? You break down below this daily 786. That anchored VWAP is now resistance as well. This has been major, major support, right? Test it, bounce, lose it, regain it, new high, test it, new high, right? Once you get below this, not only can these anchored VWAPs help you find sniper entries into your trades, but it can also help you identify macro trend changes. So if we come back down here to that 786 that we just talked about, right, it's like, sure, you can get the bounce, but at that moment, right, you now have a lot of resistance above you. You have the value area high, you have the anchored VWAP, and it's like, is that really the high or low, or are you just going to get that bigger drop down towards the POC? So again, we'll cross all that when we get there. But right now, the only thing you really need to be paying attention to, in my opinion, is this level here, 176. Let's hold above it. If we lose that, you could look down to 171 to $160 or 160, $160 almost even. I don't even want to deal with this. Let's just hold above this level. I'll keep it nice and simple. Stay above $177. That's your key level to stay above. And then above you, the biggest level to get above and hold as support is the value area low at $192. Hopefully I didn't overcomplicate that. I kind of talked in circles there, but it's simple. These liquidation wicks just make it so hard, guys. Like, I did this the other day on the live stream. I just like draw this as a box and I just make this black. And we just like ignore this wick. It's like, it makes it a little easier to look at. Now, not that I would just like completely ignore this wick 100%, but it's like, if you don't pay attention to this wick, right, like this makes a lot more sense, right? It's like, all right, cool. You have the liquidations. Yes, it represents price action, but it's like, this looks a lot different than when you look at that big liquidation wick. It's like, you lose that low. There's your 786 key level of support. Great. Let's hold that higher low and push up here. But then once you lose that 786, now you're looking at that wick. It's like, dang, do we want to go fill this wick now, right? And again, you're getting accepted into your lower profile. So that's what I would look at on Solana. Come on, baby. Come on. Shout out to X24 said the CME gap at 92K. I've talked about this so many times. I'll cover it very briefly. Yes, we have the CME gap at $92,000. The thing to realize about this is, yeah, like I would definitely 100%, if we get a move down here, be looking for long positions from a day trading or maybe even a swing trading perspective. But, once you get down here, here's the problem for me personally. If we get accepted all the way back, just like XRP, I mean, just like Solana, not XRP, or probably similar to XRP too, but just like on Solana, right? Like if we get accepted back into this profile, right, and we wind up like losing our last key levels of support that we went over, right, the fill to the POC becomes much more likely. Sure, I'll be looking for bounces here, but again, if you have to think about what money flow will look like down here. I would say to myself, even looking at the 10-hour here, just a random higher time frame, if we get another drop, let's say we do get a lower high here or a lower high here, it's like if you come down in here, like this high time frame money flow is probably going to be in the red. What does that mean? Well, that means that any bounces that I'm looking at here, I'm more likely be looking at something like the daily or even like the higher time frames like the 4-day. If we wind up getting a big drop down into this range, let's just say we do come test that POC. At this point, this 4-day money flow is very likely to be in the red, right? So what is my bias here? My bias is a bounce at the POC, lower highs, lower lows. The next target to the downside would be that $91,000 to $92,000 level, which has a lot of confluence, right? It has the value area low. It has a macro golden pocket pulled from this low to the high. Golden pocket, value area low. The CME gap is in there as well. I will definitely be looking, if I had to guess, I would definitely be looking for longs down here. But again, if high time frame money flow is coming out, I would still have to view that as lower highs and lower lows. And at the end of the day, when it comes to CME gaps, not every single CME gap fills. These, I don't treat these as like, oh my God, we have to go fill that CME gap. I look at that more on like a lower time frame. But the closer we get down here, then I start to say like, okay, well now maybe we fill the CME gap. But I'm really just looking at that from a trading perspective for a bounce. There's not really anything that says like, oh, fill the CME gap and then we can continue the bull market. As a matter of fact, if we get the drop down there and high time frame money flows coming out, even if we fill that CME gap and get a bounce, my bias would still have to be lower highs and lower lows, which would be a very bearish case, right? Like we do not want to get back into this range. Because if we get that moved out, it's like the same thing here. Like a lot of people, I cover this almost every day. I hate to be repetitive, but it's important, right? Like a lot of people would say like, hey, what about that macro golden pocket 786? Like, can't we put a higher low in there for a massive bounce to new highs, right? Low, high, higher, low, higher, high? Sure. I mean, that's a level you can look at for a higher low and a higher high. And maybe if you looked at it up here, I'd be saying, well, maybe I would look for bounces there. But what would I be viewing this as? I'd be saying, hey, well, if we get that drop down, I would have to anticipate that money flow on the 4-day would be in the red. What does that make me look for? It definitely doesn't make me look for higher lows and higher highs. It makes me look for the opposite, right? It makes me look for, sure, support, right? But lackluster bounces to the upside, lower highs and lower lows. Following that, money flow always indicates a longer-term trend. Well, I should say more often than not, right? Like almost 80% of the time. So it's going to be the same thing down there. It's like I have the golden pocket. Can we put a higher low in there? Right? Again, even if I pull that golden pocket one more time, right? It's like, could I look at that as the same kind of situation where it's like, well, hey, there's the higher low, higher high. I'll even hide the all the other TA just to make it nice and simple, right? Like, could I look at that as like, well, hey, higher low, higher high? Maybe, right? But if my money flow is coming into the red, I would just look at it exactly how I would look at it down here. It's like, yeah, it's a level that you could put on a higher low, but if money flow is coming out, I'm looking for lower highs, lower lows almost every single time. So if we have that same situation where we test that golden pocket 786, money flow is coming out, sure, I might take a nice long position here. People might get really bullish on that bounce, but if that money flows in the red, looking for the same thing, lower highs, lower lows. And that would be a very bearish case because we've already gotten the drop down to 92K. You guys know that's like way below the $108,000 level that we really want to hold. So yeah, it just like, I honestly, the lowest I would like to go here with still believing that the traditional 4-year cycle can, or the traditional 4-year cycle can kind of continue. Again, we would generally be going past the longest we've ever gone. But again, it's going to all come down to that 50-week moving average, right? It's like at that point, right, what are we doing, right? Even on a weekly time frame, you have like drastically lost your 50-week moving average, right? So any of that bounce, right, you come back up and bearishly retest that. That's a huge level to get above to see the bull market continue. And if I have money flow coming out where I'm looking for lackluster bounces, lower highs and lower lows, and we got up to that 50-week moving average, that's a huge level to look at for a big rejection if that high time frame money flow is coming out. And it oftentimes indicates that the bear market has started. And you can see it's exactly what happened back here, right? You would have been looking almost a very similar situation, right? It's like you have the value area low. You have the golden pocket 786 retracement. It's like, hey, can we put in a higher low and a higher high there? Maybe, but at that point, you've lost your 50-week moving average. Money flow is crossing into the red. Bearish retest, lower high, lower low. So really depends. If I had to front run, I'd say money flow is probably going to be coming out. It's not going to look good if we come down there. So I would assume if I had to guess, right, that would be I'd have a more bearish sentiment down there. Doesn't mean you can't bounce, of course, but at the end of the day, if you get the money printing, maybe we do get that bigger correction, and then maybe the melt up continues and we go into new all-time highs leading into 2026. That's definitely not impossible. But I wouldn't know that until we get down there. This money flow is going to move around a lot before we get down there. So we'll have to assess the situation as it develops. Great question, though. All right, let's see. Bada boom, bada bing. All right, so I think I covered all the local levels. I think I covered just about everything we can cover here. If you just tuned in, scroll back to the beginning of the stream. I covered kind of next, like, more tangible local levels that I'll be looking at for the next move on Bitcoin. Took a look at Ethereum, took a look at Solana. I'll take a quick look at XRP here. Whoops, coming over to the alt template. Bada boom, bada bing. All right, so oops, here we are. So for XRP, again, it's like, let's ignore this wick for a second. All right. These are the major levels. You guys will know if you watch the channel. Before we even got this move down, I'll come into bar replay mode just so we can get like a nice clean view of what we were looking at, right? We got the initial breakout of this range. Bullish retest of the range high, bullish retest of the range high, retest. And this is kind of where we were talking about. The more times you tap on a door, the more likely it is to open. This was our major key level of support we did not want to lose. It was a golden pocket, value area high, very key, massive anchored VWAP from the low all the way down here at $1.61, massive level to stay above, right? We've slipped it before and regained it, right? It's not impossible to do, obviously, but we knew, right? Once you break below this level, we are looking for a significant drop back down, right? Where we had our full golden pocket retracement confluent with the POC of our range here between 241 and 231. We lose this, that's the next major key level of support, right? We also had a more local level, more local golden pocket at 250 to 260, but at the end of the day, the full Fibonacci retracement from the low to the high was sitting right here in confluence with the POC. And then below that, you have your 786, which you can't even see. You can see the number right here, but it's so confluent with that value area low, you can't even see the blue line. You have your golden pocket POC, and then you have your 786 value area low. These were the two next major levels of support if we lost this level. Those are the levels that we expect, right? Get stuck in here. Next likely place for price to go is the POC. Lose the golden pocket POC. Next likely place for price to go would be the 786 value area low. Obviously, we got the loss of that level and instantly went to zero. Of course, I did not expect this massive liquidation wick. There was nothing of me looking at this. There was nothing telling me that, like, oh, watch out for that giant, 75% wick or whatever the heck this was, 50% wick on XRP. But the key levels that we were looking at were the value area low and the golden pocket POC. And where is price settling here, guys? Of course, again, like I said, just ignoring this wick. It's like, well, hey, if you just ignore that wick, what happened here, right? We got the drop down to the first major key level of support, which is the golden pocket POC. Play it along here, come to the current price action. We're now sitting above that point of control, right? So we came down, we played with the level, we put in some bullish divergences here, lower lows on price action, higher lows on your momentum waves, almost the exact same thing we saw on Bitcoin into our golden pocket. From the low to the high, you push into the golden pocket 786. You get the lower lows, you get the higher lows, you get the bullish divergences, we get the bounce. Same exact thing here on XRP. Bullish divergences into the key level, you get above the POC. At this point, right, the biggest levels to watch, in my opinion, you have your 4-hour money flow coming up. This could indicate that if we get that continuation into the green here, you do have that 4-hour red dot looking to print, so you might get some turbulence. But if this money flow continues into the green, it doesn't just fake back out into the red, guess what? Well, we can look for higher lows and higher highs through this profile. Technically, we've tapped the value area low, right? But again, this wick is just, I hate these wicks because it's like, it just throws all the TA off. But, just looking at this, ignoring the wick, seeing where price has settled, disregarding the liquidations, bullish divergences, 4-hour money flow comes up. If we do get the bounce continuation here off that money flow crossover, the biggest level of resistance to look at is the value area high, 786, anchored VWAP. Anchored VWAP comes in at 269, value area high at 272, and the 786 / value area low here comes in at 279. The problem with breaking down below all this resistance, guys, and I'll drag this down to the anchored VWAP's current position. This is obviously going to move as price action moves, but all this support, massive support, massive support, massive support, massive support, massive support, lose it. Now this could turn into resistance, right? So when we come up into this zone, like this is really the major zone to get above. Because if we get rejected here, we could just get back into this profile and fill this wick down to the value area low and potentially lower. So just like even not from a volume profile perspective, it's like you got to get back above these range lows, right? If you can get back up in here, flip this to support, it starts to look a little bit better because you're getting accepted into your upper value. And then maybe if money flow is continuing to go in the right direction, which it looks like it wants to go right now, you can look for that continuation up through that profile into the value area high. And then as we push up, we can assess the probabilities of getting a bigger breakout to higher prices. But right now, I would say the biggest zone to look at on XRP is massive resistance. And again, like this anchored VWAP, support, support, lose it. It could be massive resistance, indicating, again, a major trend change, right, for a much bigger trend to the downside. So just to show the importance of getting above this level, it sits between 269 and 279. Get above this, flip it to support. Well, guess what? That's where I'd be feeling a little bit better, and then we can assess the situation as we push up through this profile, keeping an eye on money flow, trying to figure out the probabilities of getting that bigger move up. But, massive support will turn into massive resistance, or be looked at always as massive resistance on the way back up. And again, sure, we wicked down here, but it's like, was this just, if you ignore this wick, right? Let me pull up. Yeah, that has the big wick as well. So just like if you ignore this wick, right, like we did on the Solana chart, again, not that I would just ignore it completely, but let's just pretend that wick's not there. It's not a coincidence that price settles on this key level of support, right? So if you look at this as ignoring the wick and just looking at this as a volume profile, you lose the value area high. Next likely place for price to go is the POC. POC is support. But if you can't get out of this range, right, doorway to the POC and potentially to fill that entire range in full is still open. But you got the 4-hour money flow on your side. Daily money flow and the higher time frames are still a little wish-washy. You have the 16-hour bull divs, which is nice. Money flow trying to come up. But again, we still need this to come into the green. Daily money flow is attempting to come back into the green, but this has been very choppy recently, so nothing really to take away from this. It's just very hard to come to a conclusion on that time frame. 3-day money flow looks super bearish. 4-day money flow is in the red. 5-day money flow is in the red, and this is an early crossover, guys. Like, I would still say if we're looking for, like, if I were looking for a massive bounce up from this level directly, I would want to see the opposite on money flow here. I would literally need this to be a big red wave crossing into the green. Then it'd be like, well, hey, we have 16-hour bullet, we have high time frame bull divs, high time frame money flow crossing into the green. That looks good for a massive move up. But we literally have the opposite going on here. There's some mixed signals, but at the end of the day, right, like, you can't just ignore this. So that's why I would play it level to level in my own personal plan. My personal plan, that is what I'm doing, right? Could put in the lower high to continue the bigger trend to the downside based off high time frame money flow. But if you get above here and flip this to support, it could change things. So we'll keep a close eye here on XRP as the week goes on. And hopefully we can hopefully we just scam out of here, guys. But again, you're betting against a lot of the money flow here. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Eugene Sky says, why wouldn't Saylor buy on an exchange and teach these shorts a lesson? Shout out to Eugene. Come on, Saylor, help us out, bro. Oh, Elon Musk. I feel like Elon Musk is a guy that would just, like, sacrifice some of his net worth to just, like, pump crypto, right? Or maybe dump it. Shout out to Toasty Fry says, if ETFs go live for XRP after the government shutdown, could that invalidate the money flow due to inflows? Listen, shout out to Toasty. That's a great question, right? Like, at the end of the day, indicators are not an end-all be-all. And I know Toasty Fries knows this, but indicators will never be an end-all be-all, right? Like, it's kind of similar to what I was talking about with, like, the macro liquidity cycle. If we wind up printing a lot of money, it doesn't really, in my opinion, right? Like, there's a higher chance that you're going to see, like, let's say weekly money flow is coming into the red here, right? Or it's coming down towards that zero line, and then, like, they start printing money and we start, like, getting massive FOMO pumps here. That is very likely going to fake out your money flow back into a massive green wave, right? So, again, money flow, as accurate as it can be, as many times as we go back in hindsight, right, after looking at it live, oftentimes we'll be like, hey, money flow's coming up, lackluster retracements, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, like we looked at through this whole entire move down. Obviously, money flow called this very, very beautifully, right? Same thing here. 4-hour money flow crossover into the green, looking for the continuation of the trend. Money flow crossover into the red, you're looking for the continuation of the overall trend, right? It's very accurate. But at the end of the day, right, if something crazy happens and price just starts shooting up, it's going to reset a lot of those indicators. So, yeah, I mean, I would say if the ETFs going live does cause a massive move up, right, like, that is going to affect the money flow for sure. I think that's a valid case to make. Let's see. Shout out to CryptoPysa said F Elon Musk. I wasn't, I don't know. My genuine thought on Elon is he's either like the quirky billionaire that's going to save the world, or maybe he's the evil billionaire that's going to take over the world. I don't know which way it's going to go just yet. But he definitely has the capability, in my opinion. Let's see. Shout out to Eugene says, cryptos need a new GPS that points only north. Let's go. I agree. That would be beautiful. All right, so we took a look at XRP. We took a look at Solana. I'll take a quick look at Cardano over on the alt chart here, and let's see if we have anything to update here. Because every time I look at Cardano, I'm like, well, guys, nothing has changed. And gonna say it again. Nothing has changed. I know it's like kind of frustrating for some people to hear. It's like, what do you mean? Like, we get this massive jump down. But again, ignoring the wick, where does price settle? It settles right on our 786, which was our key level that we were looking at anyway. And, if we did not have the massive liquidations triggered, guess what? We would just be at the key level that we were looking at, and we'd be saying, well, hey, we're at our next target. We're bouncing. We're holding on top of the 786. This is very key, in my opinion, guys. If we can hold on to this 786 and we lose it, the biggest level of support to look at is the value area high sitting at 53 cents, leading all the way down to about 50 cents. If we can't get the bounce, and let me actually let me pull from this wick low. I mean, and funny enough, right, like even with the wick, it's like we knew once you break down below this box, right, value area high / 50-cent lows here, once you lose that, you're very likely to get accepted into the range and fill the range in full. Almost never does the range just fill in 5 minutes like that, especially a range that is over such a large price range of 47%. I've never seen it, very unlikely to fill that quickly. What I was expecting more in that case would be something like this, where it's like you come down, you get a little bounce, you get accepted in, you start to get a move down, right? And you kind of just trend down to the POC, potentially lose the POC, then go to the low, right? It's more often times what it looks like, but obviously the liquidation did wind up giving you the support on the value area low. But at the end of the day, these are still the biggest key levels, right? If we do lose this 786, I'll pull your full wick here from the wick to the high here. I'm not going to lie. It still kind of puts that major target here on the POC. Now, maybe you bounce off the golden pocket, but at the end of the day, that POC is confluent with the 786. You don't really have anything confluent here. Maybe you have an MPOC. I doubt it, but I will look here for you guys live. Daily MPOCs, nothing. Weekly MPOC, nothing. There was an old weekly MPOC here that got tapped. Monthly MPOC, nothing, right? So you don't really have any confluence here. There's no daily levels, no nothing. The confluent level is really on the POC 786. Now, I'm not saying you have to come down here, right? It's just to show you, if we lose this range again, or this value area high again, that's kind of the direction that I would look for, right? So let's pray we hold on top of that 786. If not, you have the next level here between 50 and 54 cents. Lose that. I'm looking down to the golden pocket at 45 cents. And more importantly, I would say the better level there again is the POC 786. But other than that, you're kind of just in between your two major volume profiles. And we looked at this Fibonacci retracement last week for the lower high. So we are rejecting that right now. Whoops. So I would keep that on the chart as of right now. But from a grand context here, it's like, hey, major doorway to higher prices, major doorway to lower prices. We are just chopping in between these two volume profiles, right? Here's your bear market range. Here's your bull market range. We're just chopping in between these right now, right? So I know, don't worry about the nitty-gritty levels here, but you'll break above this value area low, POC could be next. Break above the POC, go to the value area high. That's why that doorway to higher prices is sitting up here. Doorway to higher prices key. I don't put that there for no reason. That is there 100% for a very significant reason, right? Same thing here. This would be also potential doorway to lower prices if you get accepted, right? Doorway to lower prices. So we're still just chopping around there. If you want to view it as more of like a local kind of situation, right? Like from a macro perspective, we're just still sitting up in here. And we have not broken the key level just yet other than this wick. This was that major level that would indicate the bigger drop down. This wick just kind of gave us the full play out of what we looked at in 2 seconds, right? Now we're just back up at this key level. So it's a little bit difficult situation here. But if I just hide some of this stuff here, these are the major ranges, right? You do not want to get accepted back into your macro bear market range, value area high sitting at 54 cents. What you want to do is get above your bull market value area above 90 cents. Right now, we're just chopping in between. That's why I say there's not much to update. It's the same thing up here. It's like, hey, guys, if we get a drop down, we could potentially go as low as this golden pocket 786 retracement. Whoops. That would be okay, right? For a golden pocket, whoops, 786. We're sitting on top of that 786 zone right now. Again, ignoring the wick. And if you wanted to view this a little bit more locally, pretty much the same levels, right? There's the 786. Let me just hide this real quick. Actually, no, I'll just delete this. So still like up here in this major support. Golden pocket 786, right? Get back above, flip the POC. Go up to the value area high, right? And at that point, you're getting very close to your macro value area low. So local range that you can look at is going to be the value area low. And actually, how much will this wick affect this volume profile? Not much. So I would say golden pocket has been ran through. So I'll take that off the chart. Drag this down to the value area low. Bada boom. Get above the POC anchored VWAP, push into the value area high. And then at that point, that would be very nice, right? Because at that point, it's like, hey, we're not losing the key level of support. And if you get into this value area high and eventually get the breakout, what are you doing on the higher time frames? Very simply put, you're breaking above that massive doorway to higher prices. Does that make sense? So I know it's a little bit confusing here with all these ranges, but from a simple perspective, you are just between your two major ranges, and if you turn those off, the current range you're sitting in is right here. So deviate the low, some kind of crazy deviation, get above this, stay above this value area low 786. POC is next at 72 cents. Flip that. You can look up towards the value area high at $1.01. Trying to give it like the higher time frame context with the local levels as well, because I know some people are here for the day trading stuff, the local levels to look for trades, and then some people are just here. It's like, bro, tell me when my altcoin bags are going to pump. For the longer term situation, get above 90 cents. That really opens up the door, in my opinion. Let's see. Shout out to Alberto. Says, I see a flag on the 4-hour ETH chart. What do you think? Also, a potential head and shoulders. Not a big pattern trader, but it doesn't mean that can't play out. Flag on the 4-hour. Potential inverse head and shoulders. I don't know. I'm not a huge pattern trader. Maybe there's a flag here. I don't know if you're talking about like this pullback, or maybe you're talking about, I don't know. Maybe you're talking about like this potentially for a bigger breakout. Inverse head and shoulders. I assume you're probably looking at left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline. Boom, something like that. I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking at, but I'm just not a big pattern trader. Patterns are really just a way to describe price action. But for me, the way I would look at that, and it doesn't even really, at the end of the day, right? Like if you're looking at like left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline, breakout, send it, right? It's like it's pretty much very similar to what we're looking at here on the volume profile, right? It's like break into your range, POC is next, you tap it to the dollar, flip that value area low to support, maybe that finishes off your right shoulder if that's what you're even looking at. Again, this is kind of wonky. I'm not a big pattern guy, so I might not be the best guy to ask for that. But that breakout of the neckline retest, send it, is pretty much stay inside your value area. POC is next. Hold this as support. Break above the POC. Rise to the value area high. And if I were to make this, the more often than not, when I'm looking at patterns like this, what I'll do is I'll use it to pull measured moves. So the measured move here would bring you directly up into that POC. You can't even make that up. Regardless of how, it's just a way to describe things, right? So like if you want to look at that as a head and shoulders with a technical target of the value area high, I would say that is confluent with what the value area is saying. Got to get above that POC. That's your next biggest level on Ethereum to get above. Hopefully, I don't know if that's what you're looking at, but hopefully that clears some things up for you. Let's see. Shout out to Eugene Sky. Said supposedly the last 2 weeks of October are when BTC really takes off. Shout out to Eugene. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if we can get it. I mean, if we get that 2-day green dot and that daily green dot, we may be able to see that continuation up. The question is it going to be October, all-time high October, get above the macro 786, new all-time high October, or is it going to be October, oh my God, this is exciting, for another lower high and macro lower low? I think there's an argument to be made on both sides here, guys. But again, I'll just be trading it level to level. And of course, I did get stopped out of my long here. Otherwise, I'd be holding this. And right now, I am only holding my short position. That's not just because I only think it's going down. I would be, more often than not, if you guys watch the show, you will know, right? More often than not, I'll be like in a new long position, targeting, maybe the POC at $117,000 / golden pocket retracement, while also holding my short as a hedge, right? Which is short from here. Right, profits locked in already. I got like a little over $3,000 locked in. Still got about like $2,000 or $3,000 unrealized. So this is usually the situation I'm in, but unfortunately, I just got stopped out by like pennies on that move. But shout out to the premium Discord. A lot of the people in the premium were like, hey, bro, sorry you got stopped out, but thanks for the setup, man. I'm in profit. And I'm like, hey, if the Mafia's in profit, it makes me missing a move or getting stopped out before a move goes up. It makes that feel a lot better for me because at least I was able to help other people see what we were looking for and actually capitalize on it. Let's see. Oh, the Head and Shoulders was on the 1 hour and bearish. And I think he was talking about ETH. So let's see here. 1 hour, Head and Shoulders. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're looking at. Yeah. I don't know. I don't always. It would be in line with money flow. And what would the measured move there be on that local Head and Shoulders? Something like this. I mean, hey, even either way, right? Like even this. Money flow is coming out here on the 1 hour. See the 16-hour red dot looking to print. So if you do get that drop down, I mean, the measured move on that Head and Shoulders, if that's what you're looking at it as, technical target, I mean, you literally can't make this up, right? Like brings you right down to that 786, which would be the next significant support, right? If you lose that, I'm looking down lower. So we'll see if it plays out. But yeah, I don't. Patterns are great, right? If you're using it with other confluences, and to be honest, right, like 1 hour money flow crossing into the green, but again, if this VWAP rolls over, you could just cross into the red again. This could just be a little fake out. You just want to be careful. You want to make sure you're trading the patterns with confluence, because a lot of people like pattern. Your brain, right? Human brains are like evolved for pattern recognition, right? So it's like very easy to see these patterns, and I think a lot of people don't point out. When they see a Head and Shoulders and it doesn't play out, they tend to only harp on the times that it does play out. That's not to say they're useless. It's not to say you can't make money trading just patterns. But I just think there's a lot more to the story than just the shape of the pattern, right? It's really just a way to describe the price action. So yeah, but we'll see. I mean, money flow is coming out there on the 1 hour. Let's see the 45-minute money flow. Yeah, it's kind of choppy there. So we'll see. I'm just focused more on the key levels, right? Like, especially for Bitcoin, it's like, hide it. Well, let's actually come over here, right? So, like, for Bitcoin, it's like, I'm just waiting for my key levels to get tapped, right? If I get my key levels tapped, I'll look for the long. If I get my key levels tapped to the upside, I'll look for the shorts. I'm not always concerned with exactly what's going to happen. It's like, if I think we're going to go up or down here, right, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to take a trade, right? Because if my key level's up here and that's the level that I'm really looking for the big move at, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just saying, like, if I can have a bias, right, saying I think price is going to continue up here. It doesn't mean that it's a good trade, right? It doesn't mean it's a good situation to, good risk to reward, good entry. It doesn't mean there's a setup there. I think it's really hard for a lot of new traders to understand. I talked to the premium Discord about this. Like, I could potentially say, hey, I'm looking for a continuation up, and a lot of people will ask, like, well, if you thought it was going to go up, why didn't you just long? And the answer to that is, like, because there is just no situation here where I would say, like, based off my rules, I could look for a long position, right? In the premium Discord, we were sitting, like, right here, right inside of our resistance. And someone was asking me, like, hey, like, it kind of looks like we're just going to scam up here. Like, do you think we can just pop to the upside? And I'm like, well, hey, listen, like 4 hour money flow is crossing into the green. Like at the end of the day, right? Like this would indicate if we can get that money flow to cross green that we can get a continuation to the upside. And whether it's scammed up from here or we get a higher low before a higher high, this is just never a place where I'm looking for a long. Why? My long position that I took was down here. Now, granted, I did get stopped out of the position. Understand or realize that this was as price was coming down that I was taking these long positions, right? I took some here, some here. It's never, like, at this point, to me, right, it's like if I wanted to hold a long, I need to be long from down here, right? I can't be long as price is coming up, especially when you're pushing into resistance. And funny enough, right, not a drastic move, but like it was like right on this candle. What happens? We wind up getting a little bit of a retracement, right? So it's like I could have the bias of higher lows and higher highs. Sometimes Bitcoin won't give you the retracement for an entry. And sometimes you just have to sit on your hands and let price go without you. So there are situations where it's like, I think we're going to continue up. I'm going to wait for a retracement. We don't get the retracement and price comes up. And I talk about it every time it happens, right? Because it's just because I think that we're going to continue up here. If I don't get the retracement, cool. I was right about getting the continuation. I just didn't get the setup to present itself. Because if I take a long here, right, say a long here, like my stop loss has got to go below this low, or maybe even below this low. And if I'm targeting the POC or this golden pocket, it's like this risk to reward is trash, right? It's like a 50-50 shot, less than a 50-50 shot. This is not good for risk management, right? So unless I had a super local entry in here, I'm just waiting for those, this, right? If I get this golden pocket retracement, right, like this risk to reward is much better. It's a 7 risk to reward. I'm risking way less than I am, I'm willing to lose a lot less than I am to gain, right? So it's like, just because I think we're going to continue up here, it's like, for me to enter the actual trade, I have to have a setup present itself. And if there's no setup up here, I have to wait for this move to come in. And if it doesn't come, well, guess what? I let that ride come in. Maybe I catch a short up here. Maybe I catch the long here, right? I'll either short the high or along the low. And if it just scams up, guess what? Eventually, you're going to get some structure. Eventually, you're going to get a pullback, and there's going to be a setup to present itself. And for me personally, I am in the business of taking high probability trades in confluent key areas of support and resistance that have a high probability of a reaction, right? So like if I were to look for anything here, as a matter of fact, I would not be looking for a long. I would have to be looking for a short because price is coming up and we're hitting key support. Doesn't mean I'm always taking a short when I'm not taking a long, right? Like you don't always have to be in a trade. You want to wait for those key levels and you want to wait for the real setups, right? Like there's like every time you anticipate price to go in one direction doesn't mean it's a high probability trade setup. So hopefully that makes sense. I think a lot of people struggle with that kind of like logic. Shout out to K Diggity. Said it. The feeling is mutual. It's going to be the most beautiful wedding with great friends. Shout out to K Diggity. Are you going to a wedding? Remember the turtle. Go ahead. Get it out of your system, Mafia. Drop the turtles in the chat. I'll never know what it means, but hey, I think that's why you guys think it's funny. Go ahead and spam them. Tyler Durden in the chat. What is going on? Shout out to Tyler. He said, maybe the trade had a long day at work. There are a lot of reasons it may not arrive. Shout out to Tyler Durden. Absolutely. Shout out to JL. Said, here to say hi. Let's see. Shout out to Thomas. Said, can we take a look at SNX? I'll take a quick look at SNX. I actually think I have a... Do I have an SNX chart here? Let me see. We have not taken a look at synthetics in a long time. Let's take a quick look here. Let's pull it up on the alt chart. I know we have not looked at this in a very long time. Maybe I don't have a synthetics chart. If I do not have a chart, I'm not going to look at it just because I don't want to spend all the time pulling up all the levels. We'll take a look at this tomorrow. I'll just talk about it really quickly right here, right? So let me actually pull up this has a little bit more price history. So I'll just give you like some real quick key levels. I'm not going to bring up every level, but here's a clear volume profile that you have. Previous value between about 319 and 147. Here is your value area low. Here is your POC. Here is your value area high. And look at that. Wow, that's pretty interesting, huh? Come on down to a lower time frame. Of course, crazy wicks. But you get above the value area low. And just like I just pulled this volume profile, right? This is your key volume profile, obviously. What happens, right? I pull it on the daily. Get above the low. Anticipation. Right? At the end of the day, it's not always as clean, to be honest, but get above the value area low. PLC is the next likely place for price to go because once you get in here, the fairest value, it's like a mean reversion trade, right? Here is your fair value. Above it is overvalued, below it is undervalued, whether you're a little bit below or a lot below, right? When you get to the extremes of the volume profile, this is where I look for shorts, this is where I look for longs. In anticipation, right? Overvalued, right? Here's your fair value. You extend out. If you could find short entry triggers up here, you're looking for this to revert back to the POC and potentially high probability of getting the full fill of the range down to the low. Same thing here. Deviate below the low. This is where you look for longs. If you can find an entry trigger, you can't just long and short volume profiles randomly, right? You need to know what to look for. You need to understand context. But if you have everything that you're looking for, entry triggers, once you flip that value area low to support, you are looking for the POC next. And then once you get above the POC, you look to the value area high. Rinse and repeat, right? And then at this point, right, you had some daily money flow coming into the red pretty aggressively, right? Maybe you're looking for the bigger continuation down. That does not change the fact that obviously you've lost the range pretty aggressively. You come down to much lower prices. But as you push your way back up, your targets are clear. You have your previous value here. When price gets in balance, right? If price imbalances out of this range, which it did, obviously, and you start to get an impulse back to the upside, price is always going to seek out that fair value, right? So let's say, I know you didn't really range around here very cleanly, but let's say you kind of form a little bit of a range here. Once you break out of that range, an imbalance or impulse to the upside, price is very likely to get attracted. Price always seeks out fair value. Where's your next area of fair value? It's within this volume profile. So you could say to yourself, where's my next key level of resistance? Well, now that's already played out fully. Once you get out of here, out of this lower range, which I guess you actually did have a pretty decent range, once you push out of there, right, value area low is going to be your next doorway to higher prices. And specifically, not just doorways to higher prices, but doorways to your POC. And you can see that got pretty much tapped to the dollar. Like, not even front run. Like, literally tapped to the dollar there. So, again, it doesn't always happen that cleanly, but I would say this is the range to look at. If you can stay inside this value for the most part, above $1.48, doorway to the POC is still open. All right, if you wind up losing this range again, well, that's where, again, these big wicks are really, really annoying. I don't know what was going on with all this, but let's pull this Fibonacci retracement. This would technically be your next significant level of support, right? So once you lose that 786, you're probably, in my opinion, going a bit lower. But this is kind of a big, again, that wick gives you that big zone. So it's a little bit more difficult, but let me pull this range. I said I wasn't going to look at the all the levels, but yeah, you have your 786 is confluent with the value area high. But yeah, ideally you want to stay inside this volume profile. If you break down, don't want to lose this 786. You lose this 786, I'm probably looking to fill the wick down to the POC value area low. If you could hold on top of here, well, hey, doorway to the POC is still open. Flip the POC. Value area high is at 322. So that's what a little quick and dirty here on SNX. Beautiful example of volume profiles just being magically magnetic. Can't make it up. Let's see. Shout out to Thomas. Said, thank you for your analysis, Frankie, and content. Much appreciated. Shout out to Thomas. Smash that like button if you appreciate this free content we give every single weekday at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Not to mention the market updates that we drop during the day. But that's what I'm looking at, guys. We'll see if we get the continuation of this trend. Again, 4-hour money flow. Looking for that bigger continuation. If we can get that crossover into the green, we can look for higher lows and higher highs. If you're looking for the key levels where I will be looking for bounces, you can scrub back to the beginning of the stream. I cover all the 2 major local levels to the downside as support, as well as the next key levels to the upside. And long-term, guys, for new all-time highs, I would still say, on a macro basis, if we're going to just continue scamming to the upside here with 4-hour money flow coming into the green, major target sits on this macro golden pocket. Keep it nice and simple. If we want to see new all-time highs, we got to get out of this zone, right? Because until we break above this, it could be lower highs for lower lows. Break that 786, new all-time highs. Either way, if the 4-hour money flow continues this up, the bigger targets are sitting here at the golden pocket about $117,000 to $118,000. And again, if you want the lower time frame resistance levels, just scrub back to the beginning of the stream. I won't make it super repetitive. They're all there. But let's see. Oh my God, the stream deck is broken. I don't know what to do without the stream deck, guys. With all that being said, that's all the time I got for today's live stream. Thank you all for hanging out and sticking with us till the end of the stream. Pray for Bitcoin, watch that 4-hour money flow, and for me personally, guys, I'm hoping we get a little bit more of a pullback from our local levels of resistance so I could try to find a long position if it presents itself, but we'll see how price action develops, and I'll keep you guys updated here tomorrow, same place, same time right here, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Frank Candles YouTube channel. Shout out to Jedi Skirk, shout out to JL, shout out to James Singer, shout out to Jesse, shout out to Base Bailey, shout out to Nirvana, shout out to Demas, shout out to Andreas, and last but not least, Amina and Jay Violet. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time. You know the rest. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong! I'm just going to end it here, guys, because I can't even play the music without the stream deck. So I'll see you tomorrow. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!